Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. And can you believe it? We have made it to the very end of the year. And obviously, there's no way for us to know what next year is going to look like, but 2023, at least for the majority of folks here in the United States, seems like it turned out all right. But that aside, today, being the end of the month of December, it is time for us to do our first of the year for 2024 Social Security payout dates for the month of January. Additionally, we're going to talk about what are some of the changes that are going to go into effect for 2024 and what the year may hold potentially for those folks on Social Security benefits. So that could be Social Security Retirement, which is the vast majority of folks in that program, but also Social Security Disability SSDI, as well as SSI, Supplemental Security Income, Survivors, Spousal Benefits, and really all the other iterations of Social Security benefits. Now, before we get to it though, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel grow. And of course, we are so thankful for that, but also because you get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now let's get down to the video. So let's start off the payoff dates a little funky for January because of the fact that usually those folks who get it first, their first payouts, the Supplemental Security Income, SSI folks, they actually will not have a payment in the month of January. Now, the second wave of folks who normally receive benefits, the second wave of recipients, are those folks who have Social Security as well as Supplemental Security Income. So they have both those programs, or they started Social Security benefits prior to 1997, which is a bit old school. So their Social Security benefits portion of their benefits will come out on Wednesday, January the 3rd. Now, as I said, it is important to note that for those folks who are just on Supplemental Security Income, that portion of their benefits actually is not going to have been paid out in the month of January because it was paid out previously last year on December 29th. That was a Friday to be exact. So that means that they will not get another SSI payment only until the next month of February. Now, next up is where things always get a bit tricky because these benefits are going to be sent out to folks according to the time in the month in which they were born. So as an example, the first group of benefits will be sent out on Wednesday, January 10th to anyone who was born between the 1st and the 10th of the month in whichever month they happen to be born in. The next batch of Social Security benefits will get sent out on Wednesday, January the 17th to anyone who was born from the 11th to the 20th of the month in which they were born. And lastly, of course, those folks who were born at the end of the month, specifically from the 21st through the 31st or the 30th or even the 28th, depending on when you were born, if it was a leap year or not, those folks will get paid out their Social Security benefits sent out on Wednesday, January the 24th. And that is it for everybody who's getting Social Security benefits until next month. Also, by the way, just remember that those dates are the dates when the benefits get sent out and not necessarily the exact day when they reach your bank account, as sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get cleared through the bank, or even if you're old school again and you get those benefits sent out on a paper check, and you gotta love the feel of a paper check. But if you're getting it that way, you gotta wait for the mail person to bring it to your box, and there still could be some delays once you put it in the bank. So these are just when they are sent out, not when they actually get into your pockets. All right, so with the payout dates done, let's talk a little bit, and I'm going to get a chance to look into my crystal ball for 2024. I think that financially, for retirees and people on Social Security benefits, and really all around older Americans who are, retired, there could be some potential opportunities to have a bit more buying power in 2024 than was initially expected, as well as some potential changes that are going to put potentially a strain on those retired households as well. So first things first, let's talk about the COLA, or cost of living adjustment, for 2024, because it is going to be, considerably smaller than it was for 2023, but it's actually still going to be okay. And I'll tell you why it's going to be okay, at least so far. But that rate came at 3.2% instead of 8.7% like it was previously. But that's not necessarily a bad sign because it means that the cost of everything is, at this point, reasonably balanced with the increase in the benefits that people on Social Security get. Of course, the ideal situation is that inflation spikes up high enough for when the COLA is taken, the sample months are taken, so folks get a higher COLA and then inflation drops back down, which it looks like it's starting to do. At the moment, though, it is still kind of laying flat at 3.2%, but I feel like it's having a downward trajectory, and that coupled with the fact that it is an election year, there are some common financial trends that are going to be ongoing. First is that typically during the election year, inflation goes down, as well as the price of gas usually goes down, as does overall inflation, as the incumbent president, to the best of their abilities, usually makes every possible effort to make the economy look strong and stable, because nothing sinks the presidency like a bad economy. So with inflation at 3.2% or even potentially dropping, I think there is a good hope that'll mean that those increases in the COLA will actually be higher than what the overall inflation is, and put a little bit of purchasing power back in the pockets of seniors, because the cost of everything is essentially growing at a slower rate than what their Social Security checks had grown at. So that'd be kind of a nice little raise. Of course, on the flip side, there are a lot of additional mandatory costs that beneficiaries are going to face that have inflated but are not really calculated into the COLA measurement. Most specifically, I'm talking about Medicare or healthcare cost overall, but Medicare specifically, the average Medicare enrollee is going to see an increase of 5% plus in their monthly premium, which is paid whether they use that coverage or not. Whether they go to see the doctor or not, they have to make that payment, and oftentimes it's taken right out of someone's Social Security benefits check. So in the case where beneficiaries got a 3.2% COLA increase, their Medicare portion is going up 5% or more, which means that although it's not that big in dollars and cents, it is pretty big percentage-wise, and it also means that Medicare starts to carve out a permanent, much larger portion of folks' Social Security budget on a monthly and yearly basis. Additionally, things like the Medicare deductible, the Medicare Part D premiums, all those things are also going to increase roughly about the same amount, which means that healthcare costs overall are going to disproportionately increase for retired Americans who are on fixed budgets versus, normal Americans who have flexible budgets but actually are seeing less healthcare inflation. Which is yet another argument, an amazing argument, a great argument for a recalculation of how the COLA should be calculated so that it more accurately affects the budgets and the costs that seniors face all the time in their benefits. So those two things, coupled with international and external affairs like wars in Europe and the Middle East and elections outside the United States as well, could all put a lot of pressure on the financial system and also the finances that Social Security beneficiaries have that are not fully accounted into that 3.2% COLA increase. But I'm still pretty hopeful, with inflation at the moment stabilizing and potentially falling, as much of the world thinks it will do by the first quarter of 2024, that could all result in a nice little boost, or at least ease off some of the pressures on retirees' budgets. So that's one on the financial side. Of course, secondarily, and the biggest uncertainty that could affect folks on Social Security in 2024 is the election. Now, it is fair to say that elections, they have consequences, but at this point, it's still far enough out that it's not 100% clear who even is going to be involved in elections, whether it's going to be a Biden-Trump election or a Newsom-Trump or Haley Biden or a Santos-Newsom. Who knows where it's actually going to be by the time we get there. But what is true is that everyone seems to have their own ideas about how to fix Social Security, and depending on who makes it to the big stage, their 2 cents are really going to have an impact. Previously, we have seen an array of solutions from a variety of candidates, things like raising the retirement age, to changing the way benefits are paid out, to cutting benefits, or pushing the cuts down the line, or raising the age for younger people, millennials and Gen Zs and those folks. All those things are being kind of bandied around and have been banted around for the last year. And even President Biden has talked about change the way that the COLA is calculated, which to me seems like one of the smartest ways to do it, or even a flat out bonus for older beneficiaries to help offset the consistent undercutting of their benefits that have been persistent over the last, decade or so. So it's all going to end up being a toss up to that election. And although we won't see a lot of it in 2024, whoever wins, 2025, you better buckle up, because whoever wins, there's definitely going to be some interesting and maybe helpful and maybe not so helpful changes to Social Security benefits, and that would affect really all of us either now or later. So overall, I actually think that things are kind of looking up. First is that the rate of inflation has slowed, and people are going to get a reasonable increase in retirement benefits starting January 1st, 3.2%. And politically, at least, there is at least a conversation happening about how Social Security and retirement could be improved or quote unquote fixed. Now, this is far superior, of course, to the alternative where nobody is talking about the coming problems in the retirement system. And, they're not planning to do anything either. That is the ultimately bad situation. And yes, of course, I realize that politicians are saying stuff and doing nothing. That's kind of what they do. But I still think that is better than doing nothing and not saying anything, which is, again, bad. But I do think that at least for 2024, assuming that nothing too crazy happens, fingers crossed, things will end up pretty steady and pretty stable for our older friends and our older family members and our older neighbors. Again, it's that 2025 that's going to get wild. All right, so that's it for today's Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you found it interesting or helpful or at least useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel grow. And of course, we are so thankful for that, but also because you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy